Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today is day 31 of the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, and obviously the fighting continues at a very, very intense rate. First and foremost, within the vicinity of Kiev, we can continue to see the Ukrainian forces attempt to push Russian forces back from the eastern areas of the Dnieper River. We continue to see also Ukrainian forces attempt limited counterattacks to the northwest of Kiev as well. We're not seeing as many Russian tactical operations, offensive tactical operations, in the vicinity of Kiev. We're really kind of seeing the Russians continuing to encircle Chernihiv. That continues unabated. The Russians right now are looking to completely cut that city off from any form of supplies, and then quite possibly the goal is to then reduce and destroy Ukrainian military elements inside of Chernihiv. Now, with that being said, it is being reported that the populace inside of Chernihiv are very, very concerned, obviously, that their city could start to look like Mariupol, and in many cases, that is starting to occur. And again, in Mariupol, the street-to-street fighting continues. Much of the fighting now is now towards the city center. Russia continues to make advances in Mariupol. As of yesterday, the day before yesterday, we had estimated 5,000 to 7,000 Ukrainian troops in Mariupol. They continue to still actively resist. Now, with that being said, each day we're continuing to see the Russians take more and more areas of Mariupol as some of this very, very heavy street fighting continues. In the vicinity in the south, towards Kherson, this area here, in between Mykolaiv and Kherson, where you can see my cursor hovering, again, the control of these areas is hard to say who exactly controls what. It would appear that the Ukrainians have launched a number of counterattacks within the vicinity of Mykolaiv. Again, they're using Mykolaiv to station troops and forces, and then the Ukrainians then come out of these cities to then attack Russian forces that are outside of Mykolaiv. And we understand now that the Russian lines are really kind of right now focused on preventing any moves towards Kherson. There was a Pentagon report that came out within the last 24 hours that stated that they were unsure of who was in control of Kherson. Right now, the Russians remain in full control of Kherson. Now, with that being said, there may be elements of the population inside of Kherson that obviously does not support the ongoing Russian operation in that city, and they may be making that point very well known inside of the city. But right now, the Russians do control Kherson. They control the air base, or the international airport air base to the west of the city as well. Which was the recent focus of a Ukrainian attack that may have in fact killed a seventh Russian general. Yes, quite possibly a seventh Russian general is being reported to have been KIA'd in the ongoing operations inside of Ukraine. And again, we're really kind of seeing where Western intelligence, Western signals intercepts, and intelligence that have the ability to locate some of these senior Army brigade level leaders, and then allowing the Ukrainians then to target those areas. That is absolutely occurring and continues to where we're seeing it now with the 7th General, and then also very difficult to say how many majors and lieutenant colonels and colonels at this point. Well, we roughly know how many colonels have been KIA'd, and again, just in the VDV, the airborne forces, we're looking at as many as 5. And again, a lot of the ability of the Ukrainians to strike at these command centers and these positions of where these command level troops are located, again, is coming from Western intelligence, Western signal intercepts. And again, we're really kind of seeing some of the challenges that the Russians are having in its secure communications ability. And obviously, we probably would not be seeing the types of casualties within the higher levels of Russian military leadership if there were more secure methods of communications. But again, the Russians are up against some fairly advanced technology in terms of intel being provided by the United States, being provided by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in this ongoing war. Excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice. But again, at this point, it would appear in terms of continued Russian operations that the Russians, again, right now are really focusing on east of the Dnieper River. So I know as this conflict started, and quite possibly unwisely, the Russians attempted a operation, obviously, to seize Kiev, and that has not gone well. And it will continue, quite possibly, to not go well. And at this point, I'm not sure, at least within the near term, the Russians have the capability of seizing control of Kiev. So with that being said, obviously the Russians now are more focused on taking and seizing control of areas east of the Dnieper River. And we are seeing some successes by the Russian military now in that endeavor. We're seeing, again, especially the Russian Eastern separatist forces continuing to advance within its area of operations. Again, no major breakthroughs, but they continue to move the line of contact forward, and they continue to take terrain in the eastern areas of especially near the eastern separatist areas of Donetsk and Luhansk, and areas even west of there. Also, I would say at this point, again, and I've talked about this before, any concept of seizing control of Odessa at this point, I would say, is just something that is not going to happen. Maybe as the war continues, and if we look 30, 60, 90 days down the road, is that a possibility? Yes, I do believe that a key point of the Russian strategy would eventually be to link up with the Russian forces in the Transnistria region in this area here. Obviously, there is a Russian military base located in this area that the Russians, quite frankly, would like to have a direct and shared border with. Now, given the success of current Russian operations in the direction of Odessa and towards Moldova, again, right now, that is a very, very challenging objective for the Russians to actually meet. And I think right now, again, what we're more or less looking at is the Russians attempting to seize as much as they can and all that they can east of the Dnieper River. I would say after that objective is completed, then could we possibly see further Russian operations more towards Odessa and other areas of opportunity that the Russians feel that they could take on the western side of the Dnieper River. And I think that, again, that is a possibility. But I think first and foremost, they have to consolidate their gains in the east. They have to circumvent and attempt to destroy Ukrainian forces along the line of contact in the eastern separatist areas. They have to fully encircle and seize control of areas such as Chernihiv and reduce the Ukrainian pockets that are operating all the way up towards the Russian border and then further west as well. And again, that right now seems to be the goal of the Russian military as it transitions from quite possibly seizing control of Kiev. And right now, again, obtaining control over the full Donbass region and specifically the eastern portions of the Ukraine. But at the same time, again, they're going to have to at some point seize control of Kharkiv, in this area here. And again, very large city, and that is going to be an incredibly difficult military operation for the Russians. With that being said, you're probably looking at a challenge in terms of taking Kharkiv on par with what we're seeing in Kiev. Again, very large city, massive urban environment with millions of people living in that area. And again, just a very, very challenging objective, both in terms of the Ukrainian military forces that have been deployed in Kharkiv, the continued additional military forces that are being recruited in the form of territorial defense brigades that are operating in Kharkiv. But again, it's just something that the Russians are really going to have to start focusing on. And probably start really not focusing on Kiev as much and holding any territory that has been taken. And that's the challenging thing for the Russians right now is do they withdraw from Chernobyl and areas such as the Anantov Air Base just to the northwest of Kiev? Do they give up these areas that they have taken with the renewed goal of seizing the eastern areas, the east of the Dnieper River? And I think that's going to be a very, very difficult pill for Vladimir Putin and the Russian General Staff to swallow in terms of withdrawing from these areas on the west side. Again, a lot of this territory was obtained through some very, very bloody battles. And the concept of just withdrawing now from these areas, especially the areas that have been taken northwest of Kiev, again, is probably something that the Russians don't want to do. But at the same time, they may not have a choice in the matter in terms of being able to simply hold on to these areas and continue to provide forces that can defend these areas from Ukrainian counterattacks. And same situation near, again, Kherson. We are continuing to see the Ukrainians counterattack, especially on the west side of the Dnieper River. There's not many river crossings that the Russians have across the Dnieper River going into this area that they continue to hold. So again, I guess the question remains, how long can the Russians hold out? Are they going to look at renewed efforts on the western bank of the Dnieper River as they continue to attempt to seize control of all this terrain on the eastern side? And again, it is not a small endeavor. Again, you're looking at a lot of major, very large towns that even are right now in between Kharkiv and the Dnieper River, and again, much of this area is under the control of the Ukrainian military, and right now, quite frankly, the Ukrainians are fighting for every inch of territory that the Russians are trying to take. There's been very, very few instances where we have seen the Ukrainians back away from a fight. I think probably the only real area we've seen the Ukrainians not provide a significant amount of resistance was maybe here in Melitopol and some other areas near the border with Crimea. But by and large, everywhere else, the Ukrainians right now seem to be fighting for every inch of land that the Russians are attempting to take. But that's kind of where we sit right now. Again, the rhetoric continues in terms of the hostilities between Russia and the West, and it's just something right now that is obviously greatly concerning, and could lead to a broader conflict. Right now, we're looking at the Poles, the Polish right now, quite possibly are looking at introducing troops into Western Ukraine and doing it on their own, not under a direct NATO operation or under an Article 5 type of operation. But again, it would appear that the Polish military and Polish leadership is contemplating quite possibly some sort of operation to move into Western Ukraine, at least in order to assist in under the guise of some sort of humanitarian effort. And I have to say that is absolutely going to lead to a Russian engagement of Polish forces that could move into those areas. And again, very, very risky move by the Poles to do this, and in fact, in all probability, would lead to a wider war with the Russian Federation, and probably would bring the Belarusians into the conflict as well. Not to say that they're not already in the conflict in terms of providing land and certain resources to the Russians to conduct its operations. But at some point, we could see an actual introduction, not covertly but overtly, of Belarusian forces in this ongoing conflict. So that's where we stand for the day. Obviously, we'll continue to monitor and report, and we'll bring you new news once we get it, or we come to the conclusion that there's something worth more speaking about within the confines of the ongoing conflict. Have a good day, everybody.